Now we move to what is actually our keynote of the day. There are many ways, many organizations that do charitable work as we do. There are many fraternities with close brotherhood. But we're special. And why are we special? Why is Freemasonry our choice? Randy Seipel, the Senior Grand Warden, has some answers.
Thank you, Brother Paul. Thank you, brother, and it's great to be here. Good afternoon. We're winding down Founders Day 2024. I'm not sure what I've done to our Deputy Grand Master, but I've been placed in the precarious position of following Past Grand Master Roger Van Gordon in a wonderful presentation by Past Master Tyler Whitaker and lunch. So if we've got to talk, we can do that. A couple of housekeeping things real quick that the Scottish Rite staff is asking to do. Someone lost their cell phone in the first floor restroom, and it is at the security office. And the announcement that was made about Brother Tom Fallis and the $100 bills, I inquired to him about that, and he happens to be my boss here at the Scottish Rite. And I'll just say that his response was less than Masonic. So with that, there we go. So why Freemasonry? When the Deputy Grand Master and I were kind of doing the beginning stages of planning Founders Day, which falls upon the Deputy Grand Master with the assistance from the Senior Grand Warden, Deputy Grand Master Dave, my older brother, has asked me to talk about why Freemasonry. He gave me no guidelines, which is dangerous for me because I can talk almost endlessly, as most of you know. And there's just so many ways that we could take the subject of why Freemasonry. Why am I a Mason? Why are you a Mason? Why do we want more Masons? Why do we stay in Freemasonry? Why do we leave Freemasonry? It's wide and open. I'm going to try to hit a couple wide points. First, I want you to look at the man beside you or behind you or in front of you. And the guys that are home, watching at home, or in lodge parties, look at that man beside you, and I'm going to transpose some verbiage here. That man beside you is not a member of Freemasonry. He is not a member of Freemasonry. That man beside you, or that you're looking at, is your brother. I'm transposing an idea. The Grand Master and I are membership guys. We were membership guys at Scottish Rite. We've signed petitions. We have a drive to membership. But again, I'm transposing words that I don't want to fill this fraternity with members. Membership is easy. Membership in an organization is easy. You pay a fee. You pay an initiation fee. You fill out a petition. You join. You get elected. Depending on the lodge, depending on your desires and where you go, how much you put into that to progress to full membership, it's easy. You've done nothing. But I'll tell you, being a Freemason is hard. And it takes work. And it takes dedication. And it takes the support of each one of you supporting each one of us. And the relationships that we build in this fraternity, that mystic tie that holds us together, it's not always easy. I say it in some other things I talk about sometimes, that in this great fraternity, we don't always like each other. There are brothers that I know that probably don't care for me, that wouldn't want to take a long car ride, wouldn't want to sit in a fishing boat. And in turn, there's brothers that I have that I wouldn't want to be invited over to their house to dinner. We're just not connected. But why Freemasonry is because despite our differences, despite our disagreements, despite the fact that sometimes we don't get along, because of our shared obligations and because of our shared charges, we are united together in this fraternity by brotherly love. There is this distinct difference between like and brotherly love. And for each one of you, I have brotherly love for. And I would hope that each one of you has brotherly love for me, despite our differences, despite a conflict, despite our politics and all the other different chaos of life, that you would help me and I would help you. And that's one of the reasons why Freemasonry. What other organization, what other group, what other club binds us together in brotherly love. And we're charged to hold each other to that certain line, to hold each other to our obligations, to whisper good counsel in the ear of a brother, to aid and assist and support him in his troubles. What other organization does that? I spent 30 years in law enforcement. I have a long and somewhat not glorious story at some times, and other times a story of great triumph. And that law enforcement was so integral in my life that how many law enforcement officers do we have here? I know we got some up here. I know there's some over there. One of the most distinctive symbols of a law enforcement officer, besides a cup of coffee and a donut, is the thin blue line. The thin blue line. You'll see it on patches, you'll see it on flags, and the thin blue line in law enforcement is emblematic that the law enforcement officer is the last line of defense behind chaos and behind a civilized society. And it's not a thick line. We'd love it to be thicker, but it's a line that holds us. In my mind, Freemasonry is the last standing organization that is the thin blue line between civility and incivility. It is the premier fraternal organization that takes good men, not perfect men, and makes them a better man. The beauty of Freemasonry to me is I don't know a perfect Mason. There were some that were awful close. We had our dinner, our annual dinner with the Grand Lodge officers last night for Founders Day. And we always talk about the past Grand Masters that have gone on before us. And of course we lost past Grand Master Richard Hickam. To many of us, to most of us, the Mason. The Mason. And we lost him. And even Richard Hickam would admit that he was not perfect. But what Freemasonry does, why Freemasonry, is because we are together striving for perfection. We don't always make it. I can tell you in my own life, I made a lot of mistakes. Some of them were minor, some of them were major. But what Freemasonry does and has done for me was to let me know that I wasn't alone. And when I failed, miserably, that there were brothers there for me, some that I knew and intimately knew, and some that I didn't know at all, were there to help, aid, and assist me and provide me with that brotherly love and that relief and encourage me to seek truth, which is the very foundation of this great fraternity. Who else does that? A church, very involved in the church, sometimes they fail. But Freemasonry in my life in 26 years, through all the good times, through all the greatness, through all the wonderful things that I've been able to achieve in my professional life and my personal life, Freemasonry has been there. And it's been a constant with me. But also through all my mistakes, through all the tragedy, through death, through divorce, through problems, through issues, through financial problems, whatever we are faced with, Freemasonry has also been there. Through the good and through the bad. Why Freemasonry? When I joined the fraternity, I didn't come from a Masonic family. There's a brother sitting over here. I don't know your name. I don't think we've met, but he's got a very impressive Lewis jewel. What's on there, 7? 6. I did not come from a Masonic family. My father was not a Mason. He would have been a fantastic Mason. But I had a great uncle or two that were long dead and gone when I was young that my family spoke reverently of. Uncle Abel was a Mason. And I think he was a 32nd degree Mason. It meant something to my family. They didn't understand it. They didn't know it. And that was always a little seed in the back of my mind. But when I joined, I just started my career in law enforcement. I had moved from my community to a brand new community, and I wanted to meet men that weren't police officers to enhance my life. Now, all our police officer guys know cops are fun to hang around with, but after a while, you need to broaden your horizons. because you get cynical, you get angry at society, and you suspect everybody of doing something. So for a police officer, it's very healthy to join Freemasonry and expand their horizons of the people that they know and that they associate with, to trying to battle back from that cynicism. And that's why I initially joined, to meet good men and meet men in my community. And it was successful. But what I didn't know, what it opened up in me, was I could memorize things. I was a terrible student. Terrible. Didn't cause a whole lot of trouble. The ones that you know me, I have a certain sense of mischief that I like to get into. But I wasn't a troublemaker by no means. But I was not a good student. I always said on my report card, does not apply himself. Not apply himself to his full capability. I had a crusty old secretary at my lodge by the name of Leo Wilson. You never saw Leo unless it was in the lodge room without a Moore 120 cigar hanging out of the corner of his mouth. And they sent me to be his mentee. He was my mentor. And he was tough. He was tough. He held me to the line. We'd go all the way through the catechism, the pitch and catch, the questions and answers. And he'd go, well, not bad, but you missed 3 words. And I go, what 3 words did I miss, Leo? That's not for me to tell you. We would go back at it. But I learned it. I learned it, and I learned it well. To the point that I kind of became, I won't say a pet, but the old lodge guys would take me, I'm going over to Knightstown Lodge, and you're coming with me, and you're going to do that apron lecture, because they need to see that. And it opened up something in me that I learned the ritual. I was hungry to learn. I was hungry to learn. I was hungry to do it. I was hungry to challenge myself to learn this ritual. But then, as time went on, I knew all the ritual. But I didn't understand it. Knew it. You understand some of it, but I really didn't understand it. And I'm looking at my good brother Jim Sharp up there. Years ago from the South. Years ago in traveling, I met Jim. He probably doesn't remember the first time he met me. But I met him, and he's a beautiful ritualist. Beautiful. But what opened up in me, he doesn't know this. We've never had this conversation. What he didn't know was that he opened up in something in me, because not only did he know it, he understood it. You could tell that he understood it. And beyond understanding it, as I watched him and I would ask people about him, and anytime we've met, he lives it. He lives it. Why Freemasonry? Because of brothers like Jim Sharp. I look over here to my right, and I see young Elliot from Fellowship Lodge up here waving at everybody, so they know young Elliot. Young Elliot is much like I was. He joined the fraternity a lot younger than I was when I joined. I was 28. But he's got a desire to learn the ritual. Cliff Henderson is taken under his wings. He doesn't talk near as long as Cliff does, but has taught him and taught the ritual. And to watch him progress through lines, he's now senior warden. He gave me the honor the other day of asking me to be his installing officer when he's to be installed as master next year. To see that, and now seeing him progress into knowing it, to living it, and to understanding it. That's why Freemasonry. Look at the dichotomy in age and experience between Elliot and Jim. Jim, you're 87, and Elliot's 26. Oh, you're 30. God, how did you must eat better than I do. 87 and 32. Yet, what's the commonality between those two brothers? They're brothers. They're brothers. No matter the age, no matter the profession, no matter the difference, that they meet on the level, and they're brothers, striving for perfection. Why Freemasonry? That's why. So as I progressed and I began to understand what I was talking about, to put some feeling in it and put put some heart in it, then you realize sometimes you look in the mirror and you look at that person and you go, ugh. I'm not tired of it. I didn't like the man looking back at me. I did not like him. You take the working tools out of the box and work on yourself. Why Freemasonry? Because it allowed me to come to the realization that I wasn't the man or the Mason that I was capable of being, that I had work to do. And Freemasonry has allowed me, without judgment, to do that work. To do that work. Freemasonry is reflective. It takes work. It's not easy. If we're not looking at ourselves in the situations we get into on a regular basis in daily life and realize that once in a while we're not great. Once in a while we're not the Freemason that we're capable of being. We're not the husband, the father, the worker, the friend that we're capable of being. And we don't take out our working tools, then really why Freemasonry? Why are you here? Because it's a personal journey. We're each on that journey. We all have different ideas. We all have different needs. We all have different thoughts. And Freemasonry is so wide and encompassing that it can meet every one of them. It can meet every one of them. Why Freemasonry? Because it has made me a better man. But I am still on that journey. I am still on that journey. There's times when I suffer from PTSD. There's times when I feel like if I get backed in a corner, I start swinging. Instead of adjusting to what's the best way to handle this situation. I buckle up and I start swinging because I feel like I'm being cornered. I still have work to do. Freemasonry is still supportive of me, but I've come a long way because of my relationship with my brothers and because of my relationship with them and that co-joining of brotherly love. Brotherly love. What does the world need more now than brotherly love? Moving on in my Masonic career, then when you start the understanding, you start developing the personal changes in your life that Freemasonry can give you, what next? What next? That's when, hopefully, the student becomes the teacher. The student becomes the teacher. And it's a great responsibility when someone trusts you enough to say, Randy, I've got a problem and I need help. That Freemasonry gives us the opportunity to pick up a brother when he's fallen. Freemasonry gives us the opportunity to celebrate with a brother when he stands up. When he stands up. Freemasonry gives us the opportunity to be the shoulder to cry on. And I've cried. And I've been cried on. What other organization does that? How do we transpose this beautiful fraternity that we have? It's beautiful. The ritual is beautiful, but more beautiful is the relationships of brotherhood. How do we transpose that to grow, to maintain? I'm a firm believer in brothership versus membership. I believe that in my heart. Again, I don't want the lodge room filled with members. I want it filled with brothers, whether they make it to lodge or not. They're still our brothers, but that sense of we're together in this fight of life, striving to be better, striving for each of us to help each other to be better, sometimes to pull us along, sometimes to push us, and sometimes to walk side by side. That's who I want in my lodge. And we all have men within our circle, our own personal circle. that we know would be good Masons. And you have to figure out, what's your why? I see a man, the days, Grandmaster and I have talked about this, the days of waiting for a man to ask to join the fraternity are dead. They're dead. Some people still ask, but they're gone. That was an archaic rule placed years ago. Whoops, my timer's going off. I'm going to have to wrap it up. I love to talk. They're dead. Okay, so they're dead. We have to talk to good men about this fraternity. Give them the option if they want to join and join us, but you have to find your why. Why is it important to you for this great fraternity to bring men into this fraternity? Because it's going to make me better. My motivation is more brothers makes me better. More brothers makes my family better. More brothers makes my community better. More brothers makes the state and the state of Freemasonry in Indiana better. And more Masonic brothers will make the world a better place. Do you agree? In closing, I'd ask you one thing. I've done this in some other groups. I want you to think about if you walked out the door today and on the way home, some nondescript governmental police car pulled you over and yanked you out of the car and said, "You're under arrest." And you go, "What's the charge, officer?" "You're under arrest for being a Freemason." Would you be found guilty? The exhibition, the light that our Deputy Grand Master talks about will attract men to this fraternity. When you live it, when you walk it, when you fall down and fail and pick yourself up and ask for help and get assistance, and they say, "God, he screwed up. But man, did he make a great recovery." Why Freemasonry? Because it's made me a better man than my brothers. And I mean that from my heart. I have no doubt that it's made you a better man. Thank you very much.